I'll start again. May I introduce Thomas Scharf, our neighborhood planner, who will explain the DAM process. Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you, Gordon. Would you mind quickly enabling the screen sharing for me?
Yep.
Thank you.
You should be able to get it.
Great. Okay. Great. Well, just to give a quick rundown, Gordon kind of introduced briefly the development activities meeting process, but yeah, it falls within the registered community organization program that the city of Pittsburgh has, and that we help manage through this Department of City Planning. As Gordon mentioned, I'm your neighborhood planner for Duquesne Heights, as well as Mount Washington and the many of the neighborhoods south of the Mon, west of the Ohio River. Registered community organizations, which MWCDC serves as, provide this role as like a liaison between the community or the neighborhoods that they serve, and then developers, when developers come through, and whether that could be a public agency or a private developer comes through to do development in the above a certain scale or threshold in the neighborhood. So in this case, there's a private development being proposed. They, through this program, they're directed both. They work through Department of City Planning, directed to Mount Washington DC, and then this is the forum for community members to share comments, share concerns, share questions, anything of the sort, and to have that conversation. And it's an opportunity for the developer and the applicant to get that feedback and to also respond and address those questions as they come up. So this is kind of the slide describes a bit of that overview with the thresholds. There's specific thresholds for what requires a DAM meeting, and in many cases, for example, when it goes to the planning commission, if it needs to go to the planning commission, if it needs to go to the historic review commission, if it needs to go as well to the art commission, and then that would trigger a DAM. There's also cases where there's like if there were use variance needed, where the zoning code doesn't normally allow for certain use, but there might be a variance that could be requested, and that goes to the zoning board of adjustment. That would be also an example of what goes to a DAM. So you can see here on this slide some of the specific thresholds of what trigger a DAM meeting. So if it's a significantly large square footage of a new or expanded structure, if it's 4+ new residential units. I mentioned the use variance, so that would apply in this case tonight. And then many other cases where there's like if it's a large institutional master plan, or if it is going to the commissions I mentioned, or some other potential threshold items here that are listed. After this development activities meeting, there is the opportunity to provide additional comments. So you can both share those comments at this meeting. You can also yourself or others who couldn't attend tonight can share comments directly to Mount Washington CDC. That's the info@mwcdc.org email. You can also reach out to the Zoning Board of Adjustment to provide comment or testimony during that future the meeting that the applicant will be presenting for in front of them. So their email is zoningboard@pittsburghpa.gov, and you can get on their agenda to provide verbal testimony, or contact them if you'd like to provide written testimony. But do get in touch with them soon if you do have written comment, to make sure that gets to them well in advance of that meeting. So with that, I will pass it back to Gordon for the rest of the portion here. As staff, as neighborhood planner, I take staff notes on this process as well, so that those notes get posted online in advance of that ZBA, Zoning Board of Adjustment hearing, so that those who also could not attend tonight can see that, and also for the zoning board to be aware and take into account.
Hey, Thomas, is now a good time to entertain any questions about the DAM process, or should we wait till later?
I think if there's specific ones about it, I'm happy to take it. I want to make sure we do leave time for the applicant to present.
Oh, we have more than enough time. Don't you worry about that.
Okay. Yeah, if there's specific.
This is Tom Ty. I have a couple of questions. The first being that we're on a DAM meeting related to a specific parcel of land. And I asked Gordon yesterday, has the city provided us with some information so that we have some comprehension of what this meeting is actually going to entail? That's my first question. And the second is, can we get a copy of your slides? So this is an education process, not only for the MWCDC, but also for our community members. And probably the more we learn about this process, the better off everybody will be.
Yeah, oh, sorry.
Tom, Paige sent the drawings, but I didn't realize that. So we have the drawings now.
But Wendy sent them.
days ago.
That should have been sent out with the announcement for the dam meeting, so the community members have an idea of what the meeting's actually going to entail.
Okay.
But I think, Gordon, yeah, it sounds like that would be something that we would defer to. I mean, the applicant, in some cases, they present their slides, have their slides ready by the same day, to the extent feasible to get those can be provided in advance. So leave that, defer to the registered communization as Mount Washington CDC as to their distribution of that or not. I think as a city, we certainly encourage early communication about just kind of what is being proposed, and the idea of having these development activities meetings in the first place is to help ensure that the community is informed early and often about this. And the kind of at a minimum, we just require that there be some basic description of what is the development being proposed, that be given to the community. But to the extent there's ability to give more, that's always a plus.
Tom, could I ask you this? Wouldn't it be possible to only request a dam meeting after that material has been submitted to the city, that it can actually be forwarded to the MWCDC, which could forward it to the community so they have a better understanding of, what the meeting is going to entail? I mean, you're saying that, well, we hope that the developer gets it to us, in time, but couldn't the meeting be held off until the developer submits that information, and that information can be conveyed to the MWCDC and therefore to the community?
I think I definitely hear you. I think that I hear the value of that. We can always, in general, request to get information earlier rather than later and to get that out. I just wanted to share kind of what at a minimum the city requires, which is that at a minimum, Mount Washington CDC needs to put out the notice of just kind of a brief description of what it's about. But be happy to coordinate with Gordon and future applicants on developments to the extent that we can get those earlier. That is preferable. I know sometimes there's some information that comes through the city that is from applicants in terms of what they actually prepare specifically for the DAM material that sometimes is not exactly the same material. They have to prepare that, and so that does require coordination with them, and it's kind of a case-by-case basis.
Okay, one other thing, Tom. Is it all right to call you Tom or Thomas?
I go by Thomas, but either is fine. Yeah.
Thomas, okay. Just one other thing. And I had asked Gordon some questions, and again, this is new to all of us. And the way Gordon explained this is that you would normally give a 30-day notice before the meeting, but you could do actually as low as 10 days before the meeting. What governs that? I mean, 30 days gives the MWCDC enough time to notify the community that there's a meeting coming up, and hopefully with information as to the relevancy of the meeting, what it's actually going to entail. But do you think for the most part, we're going to get 30 days notice from you before a meeting is going to be called?
I mean, it depends. I think that what governs it is the municipal code around registered community organizations. Is at least, from my understanding, that is like the what lists like the 10-day requirement. may be additional legislation related to notice requirements, but that's like the minimum. We certainly do hope to have more than 10 days. It's just, we want the community to be informed early. But the city set out the 10-day requirement as I think a way to both balance the community needs with development application process needs. So whenever I can with Gordon, we try to get these scheduled well in advance. But yeah, it does, there are scenarios where from the applicant side, it could be, private developer, it could be a public agency trying to do an important piece of development that, either on the private or public side could have, a lot of importance. It also may be ones that we understand certainly community may have different positions on, but in any case, like by being able to get the meeting notice out within 10 days, that can sometimes facilitate also the applicant being able to get to a planning commission or to a zoning board within a period of time, because they have to then wait 30 days after the development activities meeting to get to go in front of a public commission after that. So,
Okay.
So that's kind of why there's just the balancing act of trying to do it as early as possible, but sometimes when there are urgencies that come up.
Thank you, Thomas. The last thing, and I'll keep my mouth shut for a while. Gordon, can you forward whatever drawings or information that Thomas supplied to you to the people that are on this call? So we have an opportunity to, this is a learning process. I'd like to learn as much as I can.
They need to put all their email addresses in the chat and then I can do it. Can't do it otherwise.
And usually because like an applicant they may submit to zoning staff, their materials to zoning staff about a specific development they're seeking. And then they have to develop a new presentation for the development activities meeting that should be really the same or very similar to what they would present to the public commission after the development activities meeting. And so that's kind of dependent on the applicant, the developer, to put that together. That's what I was mentioning, it may not always be exactly the same thing submitted to zoning. And so that's where I think, yeah, as Gordon mentioned, I would defer to him on what exactly he chooses to send out. We encourage early communication. And to the extent those materials do come from applicants, that's, and that's arranged in advance, I think that's a plus.
Yeah. Well, what's critical here in my mind is that the community understands everything that you're saying right now, so that if they get a 10-day notice, they know that we only got 10-day notice to send it out to the community. Versus 30 days, we send that out. If there's attachments, like there are in this case, which the community didn't get, that we send those out also.
The other thing I think you're going to catch a question on, Tom, is that why are not, I understand that there could be zoning board issues or anything with them having to get things in on time. But to me, honestly, that's the developer's issue. 30 days notice, I think, is more than reasonable to require that they give that to the MWCDC to schedule a meeting. Because on top of that, then they have to schedule the meeting. And the neighborhood and the community needs to be informed. Giving a 10-day notice to them really does not leave much time to inform everyone.
I hear you. I think I also encourage that those, notice be done in more than 10 days. As I was mentioning, I think that we're only able to require based on city legislation, and how city council wrote the legislation is 10-day requirement. But I can certainly communicate your concerns to to staff and leadership and city planning for their awareness, that you would prefer more than 10 days. But I can say just based on the existing statute, that's what we can require, but we can certainly, to the extent feasible,
When that
try to have
statute,
it happen earlier.
when that statute was put into place, the 10-day notice?
I don't have the exact year. My understanding is in in the last several years ago, and there was a process to institute the registered community organization program, is my understanding.
Because I mean, to me, even if you were dealing with any business or organization, 30-day notice is going to be needed for a meeting seems reasonable. I think opening it up and the city leaving it at a 10-day notice, is the MWCDC allowed to say, as your RCO, we want a 30-day notice for any of these sort of dam meetings?
I mean, they can certainly apply pressure. I think there's not, I'm just describing what the legal.
I know that,
Yeah,
and I understand that. I'm just saying, as a resident, imagine it in your sense. You're find out 10 days, you could be on vacation. And that's 10 days that you're giving to the MWCDC to get out to the neighborhood. So
no, I hear you. Yeah, I hear you.
people are on vacations, people are doing things, someone's sick, someone's scheduled. They don't even have an opportunity then to be part of the dam meeting.
Well, I hear that. I think that the 10 days, my understanding was it was an attempt to strike a balance with the meeting. Some people, that they can't attend the dam meeting, there's still the required 30-day public comment period. So it's like after the dam meeting, there's that ongoing period before the applicant even can present to the public commission, where they need to, where there's that opportunity for the public to provide comment directly to MWCDC or provide comment to the zoning board, or if it's the planning commission or whichever commission it is.
Yeah, and I don't mean to take up time on this. All I'm just saying is that you're saying 30 days is what you're giving the MWCDC. So that's not even what the people in the neighborhood may necessarily be getting, especially since they've only got a staff of 1 right now. So.
The 30 days is after the DAM meeting. There's a 30-day period where after the DAM meeting has happened, the applicant has to wait 30 days before presenting to the public commission.
I understand. I'm saying the heads up that you're giving, because you're saying if you give 10 days, you're giving them only 10 days to notify the public about it. And I mean, they've got 1 employee right now. That's really kind of, that's really limiting them. I don't that seems very short. That's where I'm saying it's not 30 days to notify the public. And then yes, we do get 30 days after that, but we're finding out on short notice and they're getting short notice, and then people in the neighborhood are getting upset with them, and it's not their fault.
What I'm saying is I hear that. I'm just saying, just trying to clarify kind of how the process is. As I said, I can communicate to others those concerns that you'd like that to be extended. I don't have a capacity authority to require, we as staff and planning can't require more than 10-day notice to the community prior, but we can certainly encourage that, and strongly encourage that to the extent feasible. Staff ourselves get notice sometimes of an application coming through with limited notice, and so we do our best to try to coordinate these. But I would the 10-day notice is what has to be sent to the community. So Mount Washington CDC has to have sent to the community 10 days prior to the development activities meeting that notification. So
then when do you have to turn that to them? When do you have to provide it to them?
So we have to provide it in advance of the 10 days, such that the Mount Washington CDC is able to turn it around in time. And if they can't meet the 10-day threshold, then the development activities meeting can't happen within. It has to happen 10 days after the community notification went out.
So you don't have that amount of time though that you give to, that you say we guarantee to give this to the MWCDC to announce this meeting and give the neighborhood 10 days notice?
Those are things that get sorted out, we're in regular communication with Gordon, and so we sort it out in case we don't have like a defined period, I'd say, but we want to work within his available capacity. So again, this is a process where the MWCDC has chosen to take on this responsibility, assuming the capacity that they have. If there's organizations that don't want to be RCOs, they don't have to be, but if they choose to be, they take on that responsibility.
Saying we'll be able to do this. So I mean, they've said, they looked at what they had and said, oh, this is okay. So I just feel that there needs to be some compliance on the city and to help out any of the RCOs to make sure that they can get out to the public. Because otherwise the city would be the ones responsible for paying for anything to send out to the neighbors and the community to inform us, correct? If I'm wrong. It seems like that's just kind of gotten past the buck onto the RCOs. We'll have an RCO, you guys want to do this. Oh, wait a minute. We're not going to give you any money as for giving to set you up to notify the residents.
I mean, I think if there's, it sounds like there are concerns you have generally with the RCO program. I'm happy to, you know, to share those, you know, in our department. I think that, I think there's a role for registered community organizations that plays an important role in neighborhoods. In cases where there's not an RCO in a neighborhood, then the development activities meetings are not a requirement as part of that. That's kind of how the legislation was written. In any case, we always, as planners, like encourage the applicants to do community outreach, developers to do that, even if there is no RCO, no organization that serves as that liaison. We encourage them to hold a meeting or to reach out to the community of their own accord and emphasize why that's important. So we definitely, I think I agree very much in principle with the things you're saying about the importance of notifying the community early. That's what this is designed for, and trying to set some, there's some minimum standards. We certainly try to go beyond that when possible. I was just describing what the minimum requirements are, and you know, some of kind of the factors that influence that. But yeah, that I hope that provides some additional just context. Yeah. Thank you again for those comments and that feedback.
I guess we're ready for the presentation.
Everyone, do you want to
All right.
take it from here and then pass it to Paige? Would that be the case?
Okay, Paige Thomas will make the presentation regarding the project at 217 Seward Street. So Paige,
I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen.
will do. It should be good.
Here we go. Everyone, I assume everyone's seeing my screen now.
There's nothing up there yet.
Could be a blank screen to you in some ways, depending on how big your screen is. Can I get everyone to mute, and I'll answer questions at the end. I'm going to present, and then everyone will be able to ask as many questions as you like. Great. So I'm Paige Thomas. I represent the developer. I am actually the architect for the project. I am a former planning commission member. I was around when the dam process was introduced. So I'm well aware of the limitations of it, but also I understand what you guys are saying. And it's a compromise always with everything that we do. So that being said, we're an architecture firm. We're helping this developer build a really great set of houses here. There are two houses on this property. It is 217 Seward Street. It is across from 216 and 214. There's three new houses across the street that are townhouses. And it's just a block behind Republic, which also had 4 townhouses, I believe, or 4 houses, and about a block off of Grandview. Seward is parallel to Shaler, if you're familiar with the area, this Duquesne Heights area, part of Mount Washington. No views from most of the houses because they're in a bit of a crater. Also, like most of this part of Mount Washington, it is all undermined. There is a huge mine underneath all the houses. So that is one of our issues as well. Just moving through these early slides, they're just blanks that just give you the geographical coordinates. This is a map of the city. This is where we're at on Seward Street that I was just describing to you. Is someone unmuted there?
I just unmuted there. I'm not seeing anything. It's just staying on the same home tool screen. I think that's the issue.
I'm sharing my screen. Can you see that?
It says Seward Street and it says LEQUEU.
Right. Can you see the elevations of the houses at this moment?
No. That's all I can see is a blank page with at the top LEQUEU.
Okay. You're sharing. Give me 1 second. I'm going to go back here. Let's see how I can do this here. How is this?
Keep on going.
Are you seeing that now?
Keep on going, Paige. That's the coordinates page.
Can you see it now?
You're,
We're back to page 1 again.
Okay, so page 2, page 3, coordinates, map. Everyone seeing the map?
Seeing the map.
Okay, good. Okay. I think because I did it full screen, it somehow messed up the share. I apologize.
Okay.
So just a geographical location. This is our development activities title page. These are the elevations of the houses. We're doing pretty much two mirrored twins in a brownstone style, large, tall first floor windows, a base course that's a darker color with a lighter upper course with a cornice, kind of for a really nice look, you know, a kind of a brownstone style house. They are mirror twins. They are, as it says, mirror twins. Just moving quickly through the plans as well. There is a lower level. It's a 3-story residence with a garage underneath and a workshop with no bedrooms on the main floor, a large kitchen and dining room space, stairs up, and then a deck on the main level. Upstairs, 2 more bedrooms, both with in-suite bathrooms and washing and mechanical facilities. And then on the upper floor, a terrace, an extra bedroom, and an office. Pretty simple stuff, nothing fancy in terms of the layout, very simple layout. And then this is more pictures of what the kitchen should look like. It's a very large kitchen. It's the entire width of the house with a central island, a large space on both sides, with no upper cabinets. And then landscaping wise, we're planting 2 trees in the front. They're going to be a pleached, it is a pleached boxed pleach. My brain just, I wanted to call it by its regular name, but it's a box tree. Carpinus is what it is, Carpus patulus. With that, we have an under sort of planting under those 2 trees to sort of separate both sides of the property. We have what would normally be a boxwood, but boxwoods are quite poisonous. So we use this ilex, which is a kind of a nice replacement for a boxwood. The berries of the boxwood tree are quite poisonous, so we don't want to have dogs or pets or children playing in the berries like that. We also, in the back, we plant a native species tree called the Allegheny serviceberry. It looks a bit like a dogwood, but it's a much more fluffy white tree. And then our grass at the edges is a what we call buffalo grass. It has a very deep root system, and so it helps keep the drainage of the property flowing. It's got a 2-foot root system, unlike most grass, which is just in the topsoil. That being said, that's all we're building. It's really pretty simple. I did include at the very end here just sort of a basic description of what I just said. And then also I've included in this presentation our site plan, which is this. Can everyone see that site plan? So you'll see our trees at the front and the bottom left and bottom right. You'll see that we are using a side setback on the left that is 4 feet and 7 feet plus on the right side. On the right side, there is an underground utility, which is one of the reasons why we're going to the Planning Commission, is we wanted to have the houses touch to each other. And so that 0 lot line between the 2 properties is what we're going to ask for a variance for. Normally, we would need to have, like the houses across, at least some barrier between, some space between. But because of that utility underneath the one side on the second property, we need to move the house over so that we don't impugn the underground utilities there. The other variance we're asking for is also the minimum square footage of lot, which is what almost every new house is asking for. The houses across the street, the houses on Republic, they all ask for a variance for the minimum lot size of just 3,200 square feet. So these are minimum lot size here is 2,400 square feet. So that being said, I'm happy to answer any questions about this, about the process, where we are at in the process, and how long you think it will take. That kind of thing. So Any questions?
Please
Yeah,
ask your
hey.
questions. Please ask your questions one at a time. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, this is Tom Ty. Could you just repeat? You said the minimum lot size is
This-
3,200 square
It is
feet?
indeed 3,200 square feet for any house.
Okay, and what will these houses
These
be?
will be 2,400 and 2,700.
Okay,
So we only asked for one. We asked for the minimum, which is the 2,400, and the other one would be granted as required by that.
So you
The
just
house-
want to go up.
The houses across the street were 29 and 28 and 30. So they, even though they were closer, somewhat closer, they still had asked for variance as well. It's a pretty normal process, that. In some areas of the city is at 6,000 square feet, so.
I understand that. I guess a big concern I have just in the area, especially I live right down the street. So the ones on Seward that were built and the ones that are on Republic were built, we're
Mhm.
already seeing turnover in sales because of no green space. There's not a lot of yard space. So how much yard space do they have there?
We are doing, so we have our normal 30-foot setback from the front road. The houses across the street are not set back that far. I was just there.
They're only going to have the front yard. They're not, what about a backyard?
Backyard, we have also 30 feet as well. So
Okay.
we meet all the requirements for the city for a backyard and front yard as of right. And we're also planting a large tree in the back. So we think
I really like that.
our lawns will be quite nice, and there'll be a space to have a picnic and kind of hang out. Because these lawns, unlike most of the area around, our backyards are almost flat.
Yeah, and that's what we're running into is the houses that seem to be building up and taking out no yard space are just turning over. People seem to move in, coming in from another town, realize how small the house is and then, or how the yards are, and then end up moving when they're having kids or dogs.
No, I mean, we have a rear terrace above, we have the rear deck, and we also have the rear yard, with a patio underneath. So I think we've created kind of a wedding cake of outdoor space that you can enjoy that little alcove that's behind. There are no neighboring buildings for 50 feet in each direction, in every
Yeah.
direction. So there's no next door neighbor on left or right or in the rear that you can see. So we think with the tree, with the sort of Allegheny serviceberry, this sort of white fluffy tree, this cotton
Yeah.
candy tree, it should be really nice back there.
What are you doing for parking? How are the set up?
It's a slope driveway with a garage underneath. So
Okay.
there's no space for on-street parking. I mean, I was
Yeah,
just
there's only that one little divot in right now, I think
Yeah.
is, and I
And
wasn't sure if that's in front of that or not.
but it is in front of that, and that will remain, but the driveways will be from that divot down to the property.
Okay, because that's been a big concern is that when they put in the other homes, we're running into so much runoff.
No,
on-
I guess the easiest way to say this, we're gonna that little divot will be the width of, it'll be 50 feet wide. It's not that right now.
Okay,
So we're gonna widen that so that at least there's a space to turn off, but those are the access to the driveway, and we put them
Yeah.
close together so that we could maximize the ability to park on either side of the street. Because I
Understood.
think right now, if someone parks on one side, it's very difficult to get past.
yeah, it's on one side, it's hard, except for, like I said, where there's those there's one or two little areas that kind of divot in, and that's where people have been, but there had been some runoff parking, so.
And we've kept even the trees, we've kept them away, kind of off in that same area so that we don't
Okay.
have that issue where the trees are into the street, basically.
I don't mind.
Hey, Paige, what are your elevations? What's the window pattern like on the sides?
No, on the outsides, there are two windows. I'll go back to in the plans here, sorry. If I can do that, maybe. Go back. The only windows are on the sides in the back at the top. Does it show here? This was an early one.
One second.
So
Okay,
it doesn't show, there are windows in the back and in the front, but in this office space here in the back, there's a window now. Because we weren't sure which which side would have light and which would not. So we did add a window to this office on the backside.
So you have one window on one side of the building.
On
That's
one
not a common
side,
wall.
one window at each of the third and second floor. So the office floor, and then also in the bedroom here.
So
Okay,
that'll be facing Rutledge Street?
No, it faces just the neighbor's property.
Yeah.
These face they face open space, basically.
They face me. In fact, if you look at my camera, I'm looking out my kitchen window
Oh, okay.
at the current house, if you want to see it.
Are there? Like I can't see you at the moment, but I take your word for
I
it.
was able to see it and then it went away.
Okay.
It was there and then it was gone really quickly.
thank you, Paige. The next question I have is, what's your roof system?
The roof system for the lower levels is an EPDM roof with spacers on top for the decking material itself. That's a rubber roof. And then there is a rubber roof and a sloped rubber roof for the upper portions of the roof.
Okay,
Should be a seamless roof. It's not, the rolls are wider than the roof itself, so we should have a seamless roof.
and I'm sorry, folks, and you wouldn't call this an ADA accessible home, would you?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay,
We do, as an architect, we try to do it at least visitable for the first floors, but because of the elevation changes, it's not possible. And we won't be putting elevators in, so it's not. We would love to have done that, but it's just not possible.
Are there any concerns with, you were saying there's large mine underneath?
That's the entire neighborhood. That's the entire.
I know, I just,
Washington. No, we in fact, we did, not only did we do soil testing, we actually dug. We had a mining expert come out. We paid for an engineer to do soil testing and to test the location of the mine. So we're good.
and what about for storm runoff?
We'll connect right to the storm. We're using a very shallow foundation. We're using a kind of a unique system. It's a shallow frost-proof foundation. It's basically slab on grade with a 2-foot dig. So it's a Scandinavian system that has foam underneath of a 6-inch slab. So it only comes down, you only dig in the earth 24 inches. So it's very unusual for Pittsburgh, because we don't have basements, basically.
What is the elevation change from the road to where the garage will be set back 30 feet? That seems to
It
me
is
to be a
three,
significant
it is
slope.
40 inches, the difference. So it's just there today. It's a 40-inch difference.
From the street to where the driveway,
From
where the garage would be 30 feet back?
the lower part of our curb edge to where the garage elevation will be, not where the concrete is now, is 40 inches.
Huh.
And what is that? You're looking at a 40-foot?
30 feet. It's 30
30.
feet out. Let me just go back here.
Because the variance is 40, I think, in the area.
So the actual setback is 30 feet. There it is right there. 30 feet.
Oh, no, height-wise.
Oh, we're under 40 feet. Yes, we are under 40 feet.
hey, Paige,
Yes, sir.
we have a question in the chat from Lisa. When the other houses across the street were built, she thought the street drainage issue was resolved.
Yeah.
Even though it appears nicely fixed when it rains, it still turns into a stagnant lake. What are you doing about any other issues regarding stormwater control?
I mean, we will meet all of the requirements for our stormwater runoff. And also, one of the things that I was looking at the site itself, the reason for the buffalo grass is that we want to make sure that the water that enters our site is being drained on site as much as possible and not leaving the site. So that's why the buffalo grass with that deep root system is that whatever runoff we get from the kind of street itself, because there's no curb there, there's no actual controlled drainage of the water on the street in Seward, because there's no sidewalk on the one side. So we're expecting that unless the city were to come and put a sidewalk in, we're going to get a significant amount of drainage, both
Yes.
to both to our
Sidewalk.
driveways and to our property. So the grass helps the property seep and percolate. And then our slope driveway, we actually, if you look, there are 2 linear drains, even on the drawings here, there to make
Okay.
sure that we don't get water into our basements, our garages.
And how, the trees that you're going to put in, are they going to be saplings or are they going to be more
No,
mature?
they'll be 4-inch caliper. They should be about 12, 13 feet when they're put in. The idea is that from a second floor, you should be able to look out over them when you plant them. They were only planting a few trees, so the extra money that it is, it's not a big deal.
I guess, yeah, my concern more is just, the same thing with, I like the idea with the grass that you guys are looking at a deep rooting system. So making sure the more mature trees are going to soak up more water.
They are, and we use a tie system. It's a system that we used at Roosevelt Island. It's a deep root system for a larger tree, so that we can
Okay.
plant those trees and that they're protected. So it actually has a cage, a rope a cage that fits around the tree that will
Okay.
then be removed, so that the tree can't be. If the tree was hit, it wouldn't get damaged as well.
Nice.
So there's really not much protection for those trees from a car smacking it.
And Paige, Lisa, I guess either she typed the question before you said it or after, I don't know. Can you confirm that you took core samples?
Yes, we did.
Yes.
We took 7 or 8 actually.
You
Because
might
we
have said this page.
Say again?
Sorry. Did I cut someone off? I was gonna, you might have mentioned it. Are these gonna be owned single-family residences or these?
They are.
designed to
They will be
rented?
owned. They will be for sale, single family residences.
Wonderful.
Yeah, the course. So the core samples is not normally something that is required. We use this shallow depth foundation, so we need to know that the soil can actually take the weight of our house, right? Because we're not digging deep. We're not digging deep basements and deep footings.
Yeah.
So we're using this kind of eco-friendly. It uses a lot less concrete. It uses foam to isolate the concrete from the earth. And so it gives us a really great, an R60 for the floor, which is something, we use it in passive houses, which have, very little energy usage, but we apply it to all of our houses at this point.
Okay, folks, any other questions?
Is there any way, and I know you reviewed this already, so the main variance issue that you're that you're going to have to put in for, can you explain that again as
Yes.
to?
So can you see my cursor at all? No?
Yes, I'm following
Okay.
your,
So there's a 4 foot on one side, 20 feet, and 7 foot 1 3/4. Those are the
Okay.
distances. The 7 and 1 3/4 is to avoid an underground utility that is the sewer utility is right here in this lot, the main sewer.
and
Right?
what would the city
It's
typically?
It's
what's-
very deep, but
Mhm.
typically you do not want to build on top of utilities. Right? It's just not a good practice. And so we moved everything over. And so in doing so, we want to keep the 4 foot to the neighbor's property, which is as of right, but we want to bring the houses together so that we have this larger space over here that we can avoid the underground utility. And that's why the variance.
So that's all that the variance is doing, is basically shifting the property over.
Correct.
Okay,
And the other is for the square footage of the lot itself. It doesn't meet the minimum requirement that is, a carryover.
And so Paige, that would tied to the use variance.
Yeah, so the 0 lot line, planning wanted it as a use variance, not a dimensional variance. They'd like it to be more thorough than the use variance. Because we could ask, so the as of right, we would have 3 feet, 3 feet, 3 feet, and 3 feet, a total of 12 feet, where we would have to shrink one of the houses to get 12 feet of space around the houses, total.
Okay.
So planning wanted this to be a use variance. So because it is a single family detached, it's 1A DM, right? Detached medium density, right? And so this would be a variance request for that to be attached, the 2 houses.
well, and have you reached out to, I know we've already got one of the neighbors on there, but have you reached out? I don't know the rules in the city as to having to reach out to, like, if I bought property somewhere and I was going to build in certain places, you have to reach out to the neighbors directly and make sure that they're okay with that variance change. Have you even, I just want to,
The notice is has been given to each of the neighbors from the city. I personally have not. I don't know if the developer has talked to the neighbors. I know that the one neighbor on the left, I know they've talked. I'm pretty sure, I mean, he's owned the property for quite some time. I'm pretty sure he has. I can't confirm that though. I know on the one side, yes, I talked to the neighbor across the street today. And I've talked to them before. I've talked to the neighbor behind. There's a neighbor 3 lots over. So
okay.
all the adjacent neighbors, yes, but sort of farther adjacent, I did see the woman today, but I did not say hello. I just said hello. I didn't talk to her. She is actually 3 lots away. So she may not actually get a notice from the city because she's not an adjacent property owner.
Okay.
And Paige, would you mind just describing a bit what you plan to post as part of the, the placard posting?
Oh yeah, so the city, for the ZBA, the city will give us an orange placard. It'll be on the front door basically, or as close to the front door as possible. And it basically tells you when the hearing is, it explains the 2 variances that I just explained with their code numbers, what they are.
Okay.
And then also says, hey, if you would like to attend, there is a Zoom hearing. It tells you what time it is as well. And if you are a neighbor, you just come and basically raise your hand and say, I'm here to either in support or against, however it was, to testify. And it is a semi-legal hearing. You do actually have to testify, you have to be sworn in.
Okay. Is there any way to?
Also, you can write in as well. So I know that like the council person may write a letter. Anyone in the community can write a letter in support or against, or with concerns. And if your letter arrives before the hearing, it will be read in. If it's not, there's still 45 days. So there's the 30-day notice to the hearing. There's 45 days after the hearing for not for so much for commentary, but for their decision, where they would actually weigh in on all of the things that were sent before the hearing or for the hearing.
And this is just, I don't know if it would be on you or not. Is it when you post those signs, is there possible to put like a number or an address so that people know that information right there, they can send out?
It actually is on the placard. The ZBA's hearing numbers are on there. Their phone number is on there. Everything is Zoom now. So it used to be that the hearing was there at 204 Ross. It's a Zoom hearing now. So
well, that's just I just want to make sure that for those that aren't, because they're not
it doesn't give you a QR code, unfortunately. It gives you a typed, you'll have to record it and type it to get in there. But it is on if you were to go to the ZBA website, the hearing agenda is up, I think, soon, and you can see it. And it's listed by its address as well.
Is there any way that since the property is so set back that you guys would mind putting that on like a post closer to the street so that
there isn't
people
one,
are
actually.
walking in the neighborhood,
We're only given one, and there are requirements for where it's supposed to be posted. If there is a residence, it's supposed to be posted on the residence. So if it was a vacant lot, yes, we would post it closer to the lot, to the edge of the lot. But since it's a house, it has to be on the house itself. It's bright orange. It's visible from outer space, I would think. I mean, truly,
I know it's visible. It's just, I won't walk onto somebody's property and make sure I'm reading the notice. That's why I'm thinking.
It's funny because I always think about the same thing. Like with this particular one, you can come to the front. The front, it's visible from the front porch easily, and the front porch has steps that lead down to it without entering the front porch. The house is vacant at present, so you're not intruding on anyone. So.
I know. I think that's just that normal.
Yes, I totally understand
not
what you're saying.
walking onto it.
I don't want to be the solicitor who has a flyer at someone's door. So
yeah, I understand.
Yeah. But it is clearly visible from the street. I would say with my old eyes and my eyesight, it's probably not legible unless you get close. But it is also on the ZBA website.
Okay.
And Thomas can and Gordon can share also when that hearing is to the group via Gordon as well. So, and for the ZBA presentation, it will be 10 minutes.
Okay.
We will reaffirm, yes, we're asking for variance 1 and 2. and they will ask if we have any supporting evidence, and we'll say yes, and we will show them this plan that you're looking at.
Okay.
And that will be the end of the presentation. It will be that quick. We'll be sworn in before that. So they're all lawyers and planning professionals, so they're asking for just the facts.
And I guess my only other concern with this is if we change a variance here, is that effective of if somebody then is trying to change variances later?
No,
Like,
it's only for the property.
if this is passed, does that make it easier for somebody further down or?
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
The variance is for the property owner.
Okay, thank you.
And the variances last for, if we were not to build for within the 2-year period, the variance would expire as well.
Thank you so much for answering.
No, I was on the planning commission, so I'm very well aware of all of the weirdness of all the rules and timings.
Speaking of
Thank-
timings, what type of timeline are you looking at here, Paige?
As immediate as we can.
I
Julie,
heard that, I've heard that for the other Seward Street residences,
So
and that was 3 years. and-
I'll be perfectly candid. We'd like to get our slab poured as quickly as possible. That, you know, in the next, probably it will be July. But the slab, because we do basically a slab on grade, it needs to sit for 30 days with nothing on it. So if we can get in sometime in June, we'll be finished with the slab itself sometime in July and start framing in the late summer. With supply chain as it is, windows and things like that are probably not expected until Thanksgiving. So about 25 weeks for some materials. So there'll be lots of issues with how we close up. So those are issues of construction, but we will just make it before the end of the year if we can get everything started before the middle of June.
I know a big concern that we ran into with the ones that are on the other side and up on Republic. Is there a plan as to where you're going to be storing materials or
Yes. So
equipment?
I can go back, if I may, I'll go back
Yes.
in plans and answer this question easier. So the wall between the garage and the workshop
Yes.
will be built last. All of our materials will be stored inside.
Okay. And what about equipment? Because we've run into that before with
So we will not need any equipment.
Rutledge. We have equipment get parked on our street.
We won't need any equipment except for our excavation, which will come in from the
Okay.
front. And once that's done, everything else is built with scaffolding, and there will be a crane day for the windows. If indeed it gets pushed really far back, otherwise we would do them by hand.
Okay.
That crane would be one day. It's just to make it more expeditious, but it's those 8-foot windows at the front level, they're pretty heavy
Yeah.
when they get installed. So we typically want to use a little man crane. It's the same crane that like the guys who would deliver lumber from Home Depot.
Yeah.
It's not a giant high rise.
Yeah. I guess my concern would be more, we've had where equipment gets left on the street for multiple.
The truth be
days.
told, it requires a permit from DOMI, Mobility and Infrastructure. We
Okay.
typically, even a dumpster requires a permit. Anything over $100 requires a permit. So if there's a vehicle there, it will have a permit for it.
Okay.
Which means you would get a notice that there's equipment going to be stored there, or even stored materials on the street also require a permit. So if if you see materials stored and you don't see a permit, something's wrong and you should report it.
We had that and reported it, and it,
Did nothing happen?
No.
So also on the building permits, the inspector who's in charge of each building's permits and inspections, his number's there, or her number, right? They're the person to call, because they're the person who will come out and cite whomever it is, right?
Okay.
And they'll say, look, if you want your permit, don't want your permit revoked, fix this. Get this permit, get that permit. Your
Okay.
inspectors and they all have cell phones. They do not have email. They just have cell phones. You text them or
And
call
that's
them.
fine. Yeah, I mean, that's just been, when we've had, like, I live on Rutledge, the 2 townhomes that went
Yep.
up there, we had equipment that was left out, things, we still need the street repaired. But on top of it, we had our driveways blocked, everything blocked by workman vehicles. It was just an ongoing daily frustration. So that's Just
And
why I'm at.
we don't have yet a full plan for how to get the workers there, like to not have their vehicles there. We're working on that.
Okay.
We are responsible adults. We're not trying to, like, I live in the city. I deal with construction in my neighborhood. As well, and like I have the exact same issues that you have, and so we're trying not to be bad neighbors somewhere else either.
And that's because that's something that I brought up to our councilwoman, was saying that there are some empty lots up here. There are things, if it's, Skookum has private property that you could always reach out to them to see about parking if it's not during times or working. That's all we've been kind of looking. I'm like, is there not a way to make it, not have 20 trucks like on a street? So, but thank you. That means a lot to know that you're going to take that into consideration.
And there will be a work sign that has the foreman's information on it. So if you walk past, you'll see it. It'll tell you exactly who to call and what their name is.
Yeah. I did the one on Rutledge. I called him.
Did he
It's like, I
respond?
can't control them. I'm like, yes, but the thing is, you're supposed to be controlling them, not me.
I will say, if you do not get the response that you want from anyone on a construction site, the inspector will give you all the responsibilities that you care.
Thank you. And that helps a lot to know that I'll have that number to be able to. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Patsy, did you try and say something? I think you were muted, but you were talking. You're still muted. No, still muted. Having some tech issues. I just want to make sure you didn't want to say anything.
There he goes.
Oh, there we go.
Hello?
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 Go ahead.
Hey.
Yeah, I was
now we can hear you.
trying to find out what was the result of the core samples, because if you're not going to fill the mines in, what's going to stop you from sinking that? Because they had problems on Clarence Street with the other houses next door to the new construction.
So the test was showing that we have a really nice hard soil and that we are well above where we need to be for the mine. The mine is about 75 feet below at this location, and increasing as you go towards Republic. This is kind of a little valley in the neighborhood, this little depression, and is one of the lower spots of where the mine is. Right? But it's still 75 feet. We're well above where we need to be.
And then Paige, I believe you're scheduled for May 5th, 10 a.m. for these zoning board of adjustments. Is that what you have as well?
That is correct.
Great.
I mean, if I don't know that my number is on the presentation, but if someone does have questions, Gordon, you're welcome to give my email out for people to communicate. I'm happy to answer other questions. You know, if there's something that comes up in the next couple of weeks or month, you know, we want people to know what's going on. So it's your neighborhood. So, you know, if you have questions, if something comes up or someone's at a party and they think, oh, you know, what's that going to be? And we're happy to answer it, whatever that is.
What is your number, Paige?
It is 412-519-4890. That is my cell phone number. You will always catch me.
Thank you very much. And next time you're over, I'm the next door adjacent to the right on the other side of the yard, 227 Seward. Come say
Okay.
hi.
I will. I was just there today.
I was at work. We have jobs.
I do too, but part of my job is visiting sites.
Appreciate it. Thank you for
No,
that.
I'm happy that we're able to sort of bring another nice house to the neighborhood. So
Me too.
Yes.
also, if this is an aside, if the other new houses have not raised your taxes, look at your homestead exemptions.
Homestead exemptions.
And if you have them, extend them. It'll keep your taxes lower for a shorter period of time. It's a big deal for all of us. I live in the city as well. Well, if that's it, I will stop sharing. Look forward to meeting everyone over the course of the next year.
All right, thank you very much, Paige. All right, folks, we're going to continue with our meeting because we like to take the opportunity to use these to continue talking about things. So I'm going to just share my screen real quickly and say, oh, we're going to talk about skilled volunteers positions at MWCDC. So I'm going to stop sharing. And I'm going to share a different document. I think I made a mistake. Okay, let's try it again. There we go. All right. So because MWCDC has some issues with getting monies for staff, we have aggressively pursued a skilled volunteer position project or program. This began essentially last summer, and we were moderately successful there. We got about 3 volunteers, but it blossomed such that over the past semester or 2, because most of these people are students, we've had 5 people, and now we have about, I think it's 9 graduate students, undergraduate students, work study students, and interns participating in some of our program development primarily. But I wanted to share with you some of the positions that are open at the moment. And you can see we have our Economic Development Coordinator 3. Yes, we have many different types of economic development coordinator positions. And we were hoping to find somebody who would take this little position and help create a really robust framework for the different types of curb appeal programs or sub-programs that we've already identified, but that hasn't been filled yet. We really like somebody who's got a little bit of chops in terms of proposal and grant writing. They don't have to be experts. One of the problems that we have is we don't have our boilerplate created yet. And I was hoping that we could get somebody who had some skills and who could start creating that. We have a couple projects in play right now. We have a performances in the parklets project for the parklets at Fireman's Park and Grandview Shiloh. And we also are looking at seeing what it takes to create different types of community markets. And I mean that, different types. So we were hoping to find somebody who wanted to grab those projects, and we had somebody, but they found a real job. So that's not going to happen at the moment. If you don't know what MWBE means, that's okay. It's minority and women-owned business enterprises, historically disadvantaged businesses. We have an incubator project going on right now. We had a manager. She had to leave due to health reasons, and now we're trying to fill that position again. This is a pretty responsible position, doing a lot of research regarding what it takes to create an incubator program, trying to finalize the application procedure, and so on. We had a wonderful 2-semester-long volunteers program manager who has been doing a lot of work in terms of trying to figure out what kinds of things can be done to boost volunteerism within the neighborhoods. Her project ends this month, and we're looking forward to seeing a report, but she's been a constant asset to the organization during her stay here. We have, because it's both pathetic and kind of odd, we were affected by the GoDaddy hack in November, and we did not have access to our site for a period of time because of that. Once we reestablished contact, somehow malware was introduced onto our website and we lost control of it again. So we're in the process of instituting better website security, but we're also looking for WordPress expert, one or more, who not so much will fix our website, things like links not working or going to blind places, but to tell us how to do certain things in terms of just plain old website maintenance. So if we can find some WordPress experts who are willing to contribute their time, that would be great.
I'd have to look into this because it was a while ago, but Penn State actually had a program where they were doing, helping nonprofit organizations to develop their websites and to maintain them, learn about them, and keep them running.
Okay,
So I can try and dig that information back up again. This was a while back,
all right.
but I believe there are a few things out there that would be someone, they'd be able to come in, they'd educate you on it, and they'd also help you set anything up.
Very good. If you can find that, great. We'll also start researching that now that we know it might exist. I participated in a program the fall before the pandemic where a group of website management companies got together and would help nonprofits fix up their websites. But that kind of died during the pandemic because it's got to be done in person. And I don't know what the status of that program is. All right. Computer repair. We have some legacy machines here that it looks like we might need a new graphics card, maybe a new battery and things like that. Very simple upgrade types of tasks. We could possibly get somebody to replace the screen on a laptop and so on. So we're looking for somebody who has some computer repair skills and is willing to come in for a couple afternoons and set things up for that. Then you can see I have changed from numbers to letters because these aren't our skilled positions right now. So I'm going to talk about, somebody's in the chat. Bear with me. Okay, it was Paige. Very good. We have a project that's going on real soon now. If you don't know where Anchor Green Garden is, that is the little garden at the top of McCardle, coming up McCardle before you cross Grandview Avenue. It's on your right. That garden needs some loving care, and it primarily needs, what would you call it? Plant thinning of the perennials. And our plan with the Pittsburgh Parks Conservancy and Neighbors on the Mount is to get some folks in there, thin the plants, and start giving them away, creating like a perennials giveaway program. We're calling it the Perennials Recycling Project. And in order to make it work, we need potting soil. So anybody who's got potting soil lying around in your garage or something and you don't want it anymore, tell me, I'll come pick it up so that we can actually get this thing going. We can also use these perennials in our Tree Pits to Tree Gardens project. We started off trying it on Shiloh Street. The initial return was quite nice, but they pretty much all got torn up, stolen, trounced, what have you. So we're going to try to translate it to the residential streets. We are going to be holding focus group meetings for residents of our 3 community development block grant eligible census tracts. So if you're in one of those census tracts, you will eventually get a flyer or a handout at your front door telling you that you are eligible to participate if you want to. We need people to hand out those flyers. So anybody who wants to just walk around and put flyers in front doors to help on this project, you are encouraged and we would welcome your participation. If you've been looking at our e-blasts, you can see that we have a little news item section to begin and then flyers after that. In the little news section, we've been talking about the built environment survey that has been taking place since, I want to say February. And really quickly, what we're trying to do is get information about the condition of homes and vacant lots in the Graceland micro neighborhood. And I'll tell you, Graceland is from Merrimack Street to Natchez Street, bounded by pretty much Virginia and Wilbur. The intent there is to find out common repairs, like for instance, are gutters and downspouts. Are there a lot of houses that have the need to repair their gutters and downspouts? What about sidewalk work? What about porch work and so on? And ultimately, the intent is to see if we can combine projects together, find contractors to give group discounts, and to use our ability to buy materials in bulk to reduce the costs. Now, this is a long-term project. It is not simple to implement, but you need to know what your possible repairs are before you can plan for finding contractors and trying to get discounts on materials. Well, I can say, let's see, it was Tuesday. Up. Sorry. Tuesday, we finished the built environment surveys for the Graceland neighborhood. We don't have quite the count of all the properties that we surveyed, and 5 people were doing this. But we're thinking it's around 450 properties. So that's a lot of work. We are going to continue doing built environment surveys until we get all of the micro neighborhoods surveyed. If anybody wants to participate, that's great. And it looks like we might be getting a volunteer who is going to start managing that project. We already have one, but she's rolling off at the end of the semester. I want to tell you some of the positions that we've already filled. We have a graphics design and rebranding associate who is working on logos and flyer designs and consistency with our agendas and things like that. So this is pretty exciting, and we're going to see what turns out. We have a business districts coordinator 1 who is working on finding businesses, getting information about businesses in Mount Washington and Duquesne Heights, the entire service area. We had one, she rolled onto the built environment survey project, and we're right now just filling in gaps, confirming business names and home-based businesses. We have another business districts coordinator who is working to identify commercial spaces in our neighborhoods. And that's important for many different types of projects. We have 2 volunteers who are our economic development coordinator 2s, and they're doing demographic data research and analysis. We're trying to identify data sets for our community development block grant eligible census tracts to see how the demographics have changed over time and trying to see if there are any correlations with interesting activities or non-interesting activities. But that's an immense project, and we have those 2 volunteers, and they're having a blast, I think. We just got our new economic development coordinator 4. She's going to be helping to plan our housing summit, which is call it a conference, whether it's in person or virtual, we don't know yet. It could be both. But the concept is we have professionals in the field who can talk about, so you want to buy a home, so you want to get qualified to buy a home, you want to fix your credit, buying a home, maintaining your home, reducing your costs for operating your home, and so you want to sell your home. So I call it the life cycle of home ownership. And if we're lucky, we will have that this year. If we're unlucky, we will hold it, sometime probably in the spring of next year. And we filled our outreach and marketing coordinator position. Actually, what happened was a person applied and they loved the concept. They're going to work on a specific element of it. And they asked if they could create an outreach and marketing team of their friends. So it looks like we have a little outreach and marketing team, and we'll see what happens with that. Now, one of the things that I want to make clear is these are things that, essentially the organization has identified as needs. We have a whole bunch of other ones, whole bunch of other needs, but these are things that people can do and grab onto, and they're very responsible. that doesn't mean any other activity that somebody could volunteer to do isn't as responsible. But if people have ideas about what they'd like to do to help the organization, and incidentally, we like to think the community, by all means, they can volunteer and make their suggestions. We would love to have somebody who wanted to look at how to improve recycling in our neighborhoods. It didn't make the list, but it would be a great volunteer position, in my opinion. So if you would, keep those in mind. And that's where we stand right now. We will have volunteers during the summer, and we restart the project in the fall. So I'm going to stop sharing. And if anybody has questions about that, by all means, feel free.
Gordon, I'd like to volunteer to help with the outreach, if you'd like, with outreaching to local organizations.
Okay. Jay, I have your email address. I'm going to write that down. Let me send you an email and we can talk about it. How's that?
That would be wonderful. And I'd also be interested in volunteering, depending on, just because my health can get up and down, but events coordinator. and
Okay.
plan.
Okay, I've got that written down. I'm not sending you an email this evening. I will do it tomorrow.
That sounds perfectly fine to me. So
Okay. Let me see. All right, folks. Dang it. Do you have any questions? Because we're in open session. I want to explain something. In practically every community forum and special community forum that we have held since I was hired in 2018, we have had open sessions. And these are designed to just say, hey, I want to talk about something.
okay.
In my opinion, and it's only my opinion, this is a great opportunity. And I try not to be judgmental, just bring up ideas, concerns, and we'll write them down and we'll see what we can do about them. Now,
Okay.
know that we're doing a lot, but we're not doing everything. So go ahead. Anybody got a concern? Tom, is Tom still here?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah, Tom brought up his concerns regarding the DAM process, and I made sure that we had an opportunity to talk about that. But and
Well, that was good though, Gordon. That was an education, and I still want you to send out the drawings that you did receive,
I
so we can.
send those to you too. Okay.
Again, that'll be an education process, because there's going to be more coming up, obviously. But the one thing that I know, I contacted you by email, but I highly encourage you to contact that senior center to see if we can have the May community forum in person.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people in the community seem to want to get back to that, and hopefully after going through this pandemic, we'll get more participation by the community in these community forums, because they're packed with a lot of good information.
Right. I would, Tom, yes, we will do that, but I want everybody to know, I spoke with the Healthy Active Living Center coordinator last week, and they are still not open for evening activities. And just so you know, MWCDC has specific requirements as an RCO. We can only have community forums in ADA accessible locations.
Well, my understanding is that they are going to be open starting May 1st
Okay.
Yeah.
for
Yes.
evening activities.
Okay, I will confirm that with Maureen. Good. I mean, that's what we like. In the past, each December, we would submit our list of days to the Mount Washington Healthy Active Living Center when we wanted to hold special or community forums. MWCDC gets one free evening per month for community forums. And just so everybody knows, In general, our community forums are the third Thursday of the month. In general, our community forums are designed to present information that we think might be of value or interest to the community. We can have a DAM at a community forum. It just so happens that we have special community forums because we sometimes can't fit the DAMs into our community forum schedule. So that's why we have special community forums and we always had community forums. Another thing is all our special community forums are Tuesdays and Thursdays or Thursdays. There are some Thursdays we can't have them. We try to schedule around City of Pittsburgh meetings, but that is really hard to do because sometimes we've scheduled a meeting and then they schedule a meeting for the same time, and we're not going to change ours. All right, so that's a little notice about community forums. Okay, anybody, something else of interest or concern?
I mean, I met with Tom the other day, and I know I just said about volunteering for the outreach, but I was just, going into the process of like these DAM meetings and things like that, and trying to bring so many in the community are not on the email list or not members. How do we get people back to being part of this? And one of the big things, one of the first things I thought we could do, is do the WHAA, local churches, senior centers, the senior living home, just reaching out to people, any general large group to begin with even, because I know we're limited on resources, but just being able to go out and do that. I have ideas for fundraising events that I'd be more than willing to share with you. I'd rather have them listed and write them down for you because I'll end up just talking for way too long.
Okay.
But I have some ideas on those things, and just trying to find ways to get the community to come back in to being a part of the MWCDC. It seems like there's been a rift at some point in time, and Tom and I tried to go over some of the issues that it could be, and I think some of it is too restrictions and things that are put on you that the community doesn't know about. I think most community members don't even know what an RCO is. I didn't. So.
Hey Jay, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
How do you become a member of the MWCDC?
You go online and you join on the website.
Yeah, or you send me an email, or you give me a call. Yeah, it's easy. That's all you do.
I know it seems easy. My thing is at some point something happened that caused a rift.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not judging it. I'm just saying from this point forward, how do we get those people back into it?
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll have more people. That was my only concern. There's no judgment in it or anything in that sense. And there's so many people that I don't pay attention to emails that often. I just thought if we reached out in those ways, developing a good relationship, especially with like the WHA, felt like a huge part of this community as I've grown up. Those type of things I think would then promote people wanting to get more involved.
Yep, good idea. Josh, it was fun to see you at this meeting, but I can see why you would attend.
It's just add to what Jay said and for her information, I did do a report to the board this afternoon about our meeting, and there's a lot of constructive thought processes that came out of that meeting. There's some work to be done on our part for the MWCDC, and we need to get at it quickly. And, and as I said to Jay, she appears to be a person with an open mind and a constructive things that we can do to bring people back into the MWCDC. And it's a long process, but it starts right now. We're looking forward. We're not looking back anymore about anything that could have happened in the past. We want to build a community right now. So appreciate your efforts there, Jay.
Thank you.
I have
And thank you for meeting with me, Tom.
I'm sorry. I do have another thing to share because it's related to open session and community input. MWCDC is in the process of preparing our strategic plan for the next 5 years. It's going to go into effect in 2023. One of the things that was disturbing this year is that the folks who normally funded development of our strategic plans in the past said they're not going to do it anymore. And there are reasons for it. It's not that they don't like us. It's that their resource allocation is processes have changed. So we're doing it in-house. Now, when we say in-house, that means we're just managing the process. We are doing everything that goes into a normal strategic plan development. So know that April 28th is our first special community forum for strategic plan. So you can attend, the strategic plan task force will make a presentation, explain what we're doing, how we're doing it, and how you can be involved. And then we're going to have an open session to talk about goals and tasks. That will be the first community session. The second community session, later on in the process, will be about the same thing, but it will include more discussion about goals and tasks as identified by the community and by other people who are interested in the organization. The third presentation or session will primarily be a summary of what the process has achieved to date, including all the draft goals and tasks. And then there will be a December 8th presentation of the final strategic plan. For those of you who are strategic plan gurus or fans or something like that, we will probably be talking about our mission and vision, but we don't know if we're going to create new ones. Just don't know. We're pretty well set on our SWOT. We will probably have a values statement or values paragraph. And I can be voted down on this. I like it. I like the idea. It looks like the strategic plan task force likes the idea, but we'll see if it makes sense to incorporate into a strategic plan. We are not going to have a separate list of partners. The partners are going to be built into the specific goals and tasks. So for instance, if we say we will continue to coordinate with the Pittsburgh Parks Conservancy to promote beneficial uses of the park and ongoing improvements and so on, that's where the Pittsburgh Parks Conservancy is going to be mentioned in the plan. If we want to talk about neighborhood cleanups, we will probably mention Neighbors on the Mount there. When we talk about other partners, including, Gino's gone, city council or other parts of the local government, they will be mentioned in goals and tasks. So those are some of the decisions that we're pretty certain are fixed right now, but none of the goals or tasks are. Now, one of the things that is important is we are going to have goals and we are going to have tasks. And for people who aren't completely comfortable with that because you don't know what they are, goals are things you achieve in a given time frame. Tasks are things that you do on an ongoing basis. So we could say, improve our Facebook management. That could be a task. Or you could say something like complete documentation regarding how to manage our Facebook postings, and that becomes a goal. I just use those as examples. So by all means, tell your friends that we're going to be having these meetings and participate. Nothing's carved in stone except for elements regarding the structure. All right, I'm done. I'd like to go home, but if anybody has anything else to say, I'm willing to stay. No? Okay.
Wait, wait,
Go ahead, Jay.
it'll be my last thing, I promise. So something that was discussed, Tom and I, when we were at their meeting with Bernie yesterday. I know someone on the CDC that she had mentioned in the north side. Do you remember that, Tom?
Leadership Development Council?
Believe so, but she said she had worked with them before when they had done it to actually start a program to help with the setup of the organization to make it a little bit. It was like almost like they came in and did an instructional session as to how they've set things up and how they've been able to do certain things. Not again, and not in any judgment or anything else. I didn't know if that'd be something that you would all be interested in if I reached out to them, you know, as to finding ways to help you more and to have it organized more for you. That was just something that really came across as a great idea to point out.
I personally believe that the various CDCs have a lot to share. They tend not to, but if they're willing to share something, we're certainly willing to participate.
It was Allegheny West CDC. They had actually worked with her before. Because she was very close with the executive member that actually passed away during COVID. So, and I know that my physical therapist, one of the many I've been to, she is actually on one of the boards for that group.
Okay.
So I just didn't, I have no problem reaching out and seeing if that's something that's still a possibility and seeing if Bernie still even has any contacts on her end. But it sounded like a great opportunity as to helping you guys to figure out a way to have things run a little bit more and kind of systems they already have in place that you could just adapt.
I'm willing to listen to anybody.
Okay.
And I think my board is too.
Okay.
And let's see, I have 3 board members here and 1 ex-board member. So
overstep at all or anything. I've been disabled for quite some time and I'm just trying to become more involved.
That's appreciated.
Jay, somebody might think that we're not open to ideas, and that's so wrong.
I'm not, and you can ask Tom, I came to the meeting with an open mind yesterday. And I moved back here. So I run into neighbors that are they're standoffish about it. My family's even standoffish about the MWCDC. My thought is we need to get everybody back together.
Okay.
So that's it. I'll end there for tonight and I can email back and forth with you on the other.
Okay. All right, folks. Thomas, thank you very much. You stayed throughout this volunteers and open discussion. So kudos to you.
Yeah, thanks, Thomas.
Absolutely. Thank you for your questions too. And those were good. It's a good conversation around the notification piece. I was also double checking the requirements kind of on that, and it's the code in municipal code is 178 E is the registered community organization. It does look like the 10-day notice for requirement, I believe, is part of more like a guideline developed by Department of City Planning. What I understand, I'll have to double check this with those stuff. But then the 30-day notice is part of the actual, what's in the statute. So I wanted to just kind of mention that clarification. But I really appreciate your comments on that.
And just so you know, MWCDC didn't get an opportunity to comment on the RCO process because we didn't have any staff at that time. Mike Grandy and I later on did our review and made comments and so on participated in certain types of activities to try to get the RCO legislation amended to address some of the concerns that were raised in today's meeting. We might see some changes under the new administration. We might not.
This is on a side note. I had noted I'm going to reach out to, I met the mayor the other night at an event, and just as a follow-up, wanted to reach out to the office and see if they have anybody who's on point with that with the RCO initiative as to how it's being run and affecting the communities. And if there's a way that if they're expecting, maybe we can make some changes with it. That it's a great idea, but I feel like they should be giving the RCO some sort of funding to help with this outreach. There should be some sort of grants or something to go along with it.
And the other thing is, Thomas is right. The DAM guidelines are not all in the RCO legislation. The Department of City Planning came up with them over time because I think the RCO legislation said there has to be a process for meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's what they came up with.
Yeah.
All right.
And I'm just trying to become more educated. So I just already kind of had that something for me that I wanted to do. And I'm more than willing to share any information I receive.
And folks, I put in the last postings, which means eBlast and Facebook, a document that says, if you want to get more information about the RCO legislation or RCO guidelines, this is where you go. And if you want more information about the DAM process, this is where you go. So we're not hiding anything. It's just.
Oh no, I don't think you are. I just think that the hard thing is because so many people aren't on the email, or maybe you don't even check emails regularly anymore.
Yeah.
And I know that, but many people aren't aware that there are RCOs there and that they're holding the damn meetings unless they're on Facebook. And honestly, my father's not on Facebook. So it's just, I want to make sure the whole community's reached. And I don't know if that's just for me seeing that other side of, I'm still disabled, being disabled for so long and having that change and seeing how things can, your circumstances can really be affected by these things.
All right.
So
we're past our time. That's not a real problem. I can hang out, but
I'm good.
Make a motion to adjourn. How's that?
There you go.
He is aware of many of the challenges regarding outreach, and a lot of them, like you said, they have to do with resources. It's not will, it's really the money to do it. And one of the things that we need to do is figure out, if we can, ways to do outreach with little or no cost. And that's one reason why it's really nice that we've got these new outreach and marketing coordinators who might have some ideas about how to do that.
Well, and if I can help with events or fundraising, maybe we can find some ways to make some funds up.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
Start with some of that. So
Fair enough. Okay, so folks, I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you everyone for participating. Thomas, I think we still need to set up a meeting about more discussion regarding neighborhood planning, don't we?
I know we have a couple items to follow up on. Yeah, I know I'm looking for the old plan. We're still looking for that. So,
Well,
we found an executive part of it, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Good night, all.
Yeah.
Good night, everybody.
Okay, our next community forum is the
Good night.
21st. It's a free community forum. It's loaded with presenters from 9 different organizations. It should be a blast. But
okay,
tell all your buddies.
I will pass it around as much as I can.
Okay.
Okay.
Take care, Jean, Terry, Jay,
Take care.
Nice meeting all of you.
and Paige.
Good to
Paige
see you,
on around too. He's crazy. All right. Take care. folks.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.